Well, we're going to move the agenda along a little bit, and there are folks still jumping in. We're going to talk a little bit about cybersecurity education, and this next presentation is about from Whatcom College, which I'm really impressed with. Whatcom earned a research grant through National Science Foundation. As many of you know, the National Science Foundation is our federally funded research arm of our government, but it's one of the hardest research grants to secure. And I can remember back in the days when you had to be a tier 1 research institution to even compete for these NSF grants. And there was a huge fight for 2-year colleges and transfer institutions to even be considered to have a strand in this lane in terms of educational research. And so I'm really proud to introduce the president of Whatcom Community College, uh, uh, Hyane Brown. Is it President Hyane Brown? Did I get it right, Kate? Kathy?
Close, close. It's Kiane Brown.
Hyane, nice to meet you, Hyane Brown.
Yes.
And thank you. And I also, if you don't mind introducing your PI, who seems to be the most outstanding PI, then I would like to say congratulations on this research grant on a personal level. So I'll turn it over to you and talk a little bit about the great work that you're doing with the center and the transformational work you're doing for the state, if not the nation.
Well, thank you very much, James, and thank you so much for the invitation to join you all. Obviously, I'm very proud of our accomplishments here at the college and take advantage of every opportunity to talk about what we're doing. At this time, I'd really like to share with you about our newest grant funding initiative, which is the National Cybersecurity Training and Education Center. And I would like to acknowledge Corinne Sandy, our PI director for the Insight Center. And if she could just turn on her video and just wave, she will be taking over the presentation. And then we also have Janice Walker, our Special Projects Director for all cybersecurity grants. And Janice was really at the beginning of this work when she was our Dean for Workforce Education at the college. So here again, let me just say that it really has been quite the ride here. Of course, not all of our activity and focus on cybersecurity began with the Insight funding that we just received, or at least we received word of on August 24th of this year. We really have been working on the concept of how we go about growing and managing our CIS program here at the college, and it began far beyond the time that I even joined the college. I've been at the college now for 14 years, and prior to that time, Corinne Sandy was really the person who started to really get involved in what was happening in CIS and really became a resident expert and has increased her recognition to being a national expert on cybersecurity education. So this initiative at the college has been going on for quite some time, and we really formally launched it in 2011 when we took over the program at Mount San Antonio College, which is located in Southern California. They had received some funding and support from the National Science Foundation to create a resource center. And basically, one of their primary objectives was really to start up and support cybersecurity education programs in the state of California. Much of the activity that we see in education and training in cyber had really been localized on the East Coast. And so there was a concerted effort on the part of NSF to really look at promoting the expansion of cyber education programs on the West Coast. And of course, when people say West Coast, they think of California, at least back east. And so we joined that effort because of Corinne's interest. And that entire center was moved over to Whatcom in 2013. So we really have had a gradual increase in building on our foundation by assuming more responsibility, just not locally, but regionally and now nationally. with cybersecurity education. I received word when I was actually flying to the presidential summit at the White House on August 25th of our successful attempts to get $7.5 million over 5 years to be the sole National Science Foundation ATE Center for Cybersecurity Education. Quite an accomplishment. We have a huge list of outcomes that we want to assure that we meet. And I think because of our track record in working with the National Science Foundation and achieving all of our goals and achieving our outcomes, we have been granted the responsibility and honor of doing the National Resource Center. So let me just end by saying my intro remarks, by saying that we have met successes, and there are some key ingredients to how we got to where we are. One is that we really did promote risk-taking. And that is risk-taking among faculty who are really looking to try to match our programs with community need. And although Bellingham is a relatively small little area with some limited opportunities for workforce development, we saw the opportunity to start something here as well as something that might meet the future needs for the state. So the second is collaboration. Sure. All of this would not have happened without collaboration between the governmental agencies as well as private business and industry. So it was our ability to be able to communicate with local businesses as well as businesses and industry on the West Coast in order to sort of formulate a partnership in which we were all supporting one another. And thirdly, I have to say it has to do with leadership and the ability of leadership, not only here at Whatcom, but within our system and within our state, to be able to support us in all of these endeavors. So it's a real commitment. And I am personally committed to really supporting Corrine and all of the staff in meeting these outcomes. And I see my role as not only talking about the advantages that this center has brought to the college, but really helping other new leaders within the community college system to talk about opportunities, not only through the National Science Foundation, but through partnerships with business and industry. So at this time, I think I've done enough talking with the intro remarks. Let's get to the heart of what Insight is all about. So Corrine, could you please take over?
Okay, I'm hoping everybody can see this PowerPoint. So I'm Corrine Sandy, and I'm the Director and PI for the Insight Center. And just to kind of recap, the Insight Center has actually been funded as by the National Science Foundation over the past 10 years in different roles, but we were recently awarded the National Center Grant from the Advanced Technological Education area of the National Science Foundation, which is focused on community colleges. So the mission of the Insight Center is to increase the quantity and quality of cybersecurity, of the cybersecurity workforce throughout the nation. It is national in scope. We have about 317 member institutions, probably more than that since this was made. And it's at Whatcom Community College. And if you want to see our website, it's at insight.net. So the center has 4 goals to meet the mission. And so primarily it's to expand cybersecurity education pathways and program diversity to meet the nation's cybersecurity needs of tomorrow, develop and deploy leading edge cybersecurity curriculum, cultivate industry engagement and career opportunities, and disseminate efforts to improve current and future directions of cybersecurity in the United States. The Insight Center also is a center funded out of the National Security Agency to assist colleges in obtaining the Center of Academic Excellence designation, which President Kathy just spoke about. And so this is another role that we have, is to help colleges and universities around the United States obtain this designation. Janice Walker is also on this call with me. And Janice, is there anything you would like to add?
Just that even though we are nationally focused, as Kathy and Corinne mentioned, we started as a regional grant focused on the 14 states of the Western region, and that's helped us to really expand these and deploy any of the resources that we're developing to Washington State. We're obviously well connected here through our efforts through the State Board of Technical and Community Colleges, and so we're focused on Washington and always keep our partners here in mind and our constituents in mind and our industry needs in mind as we're working towards these national efforts as well.
So this map kind of gives you an idea of the impact of the center and Whatcom Community College. So every marker on here is an institution that we had some kind of interaction with. This may be institution we helped mentor toward earning the Center of Academic Excellence, or they served as mentors for other colleges, also curriculum development, workshops that we've put on. You'll note up there in Washington State, we have a lot of markers. And one thing I did want to say about the Center of Academic Excellence designation, we were the first ones on the West Coast to have this, the first community college. That was, at the time it was awarded, we were one of 11 community colleges in the nation to earn the designation. Since that time, in Washington State alone, we now have 6 community colleges and 4 universities. Most recently, Western Governors University and Eastern Washington University. Community colleges, though, we have Columbia Basin, Edmonds, Green River, Highline, Spokane Falls, and Whatcom. And every one of those community colleges we helped mentor. In other words, assisted them in obtaining the CAE. And several of those community colleges now help other colleges. We also provide curriculum aligned to national standards. These are standards established by the NSA and by the Department of Homeland Security. So we have 2 standards that we typically talk to colleges about, and that is the CAE, Center of Academic Excellence Standard, and the NICE Workforce Framework, which was a way to describe jobs in a standard way so that the colleges can produce students that can meet those jobs. We also provide assistance in grant development and technical support. So for instance, several colleges, community colleges in Washington State, we've helped with proposals for the NSF, either reviewing them for them or providing letters or actually providing input on how they should do it, or technical support, technical advising on how they should, like labs and things like that. Janice, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the other thing would be we've tapped faculty from these colleges and universities to help us with other projects, to help with mentoring other colleges and supporting some other curricular development and those sorts of projects. So we're trying to continuously both keep our fellow colleges in mind for partnerships, as well as engagement with helping to develop resources and support.
Okay, so why is this important to the nation? Well, I'm sure everybody realizes that we don't have enough cybersecurity workers. The numbers here come from cyberseek.org, which is a website produced by Burning Glass. And so what they report is there are over 500,000 jobs posted nationally every year, and the demand vastly exceeds the supply. Washington State, the last time I looked, it was 10,000 job openings, with the supply of workers very low. So the cybersecurity program graduates are needed to secure the national and local infrastructure, data, and assets. This is also part of national security. So every graduate that comes out of a community college cybersecurity program, even if they're not directly hands-on to the equipment at some business, they're still bringing this cybersecurity knowledge, and that little bit contributes to the security of the nation. Also at CyberSeek, you can also drill down to particular metropolitan areas and see what the demand and supply is and what kind of jobs they're looking for. I think it's important also to realize that when we talk about cybersecurity, we're not talking about IT. So it's not, there are other jobs. For instance, people in business need to know about cybersecurity. So they may not be dealing with equipment or configuring things, but they still have to have that foundational knowledge about cyber. And so one of the things we do emphasize in our curriculum development is cyber and other disciplines. So how to introduce it into business or political science or other disciplines that need to incorporate this knowledge. Do you want to add anything, Janice?
No, I think you've given some good examples. We have a YouTube channel on Insight that now is promoting content that can be added to curriculum, for example, the transportation and aeronautical industries. So we're trying to look across the spectrum of industry sectors and identify content that faculty can easily incorporate into their courses, whether they're teaching cybersecurity or they're teaching, for example, transportation and needing to address cybersecurity for electric cars, for example. So those are some of the examples that we've been working towards.
So here's an example pathway. So I mentioned earlier that Insight is involved in pathway development. This includes, for instance, in California, we contributed to a model curriculum there that established a pathway for students from community colleges to the Cal States. Here in Washington State, this is an example of one pathway, and this is at Whatcom. The second bullet here should be Associate of Applied Science. But basically, the goal is to maximize the opportunity for the students. So the students have multiple ways they can go and multiple ways they can do, or things they can do. So we have an Associate of Applied Science transfer in cybersecurity. And this allows the student to transfer directly to Western Washington University with all of the applied credits, which includes Cisco networking and other applied credits that in the past were not accepted at the universities. That degree was developed in partnership with Whatcom, so we developed the two degrees together. It was a result of a grant we received from the National Science Foundation. So this is one pathway. The student can transfer to Western, or they can enroll in the Bachelor of Applied Science in IT Networking, Cybersecurity at Whatcom, or they can just go to work. So they're employable with the 2-year degree. Then our second degree is the Associate of Applied Science in Computer Information Systems. Students that complete this program can enroll in our Bachelor of Applied Science in IT Networking, Cybersecurity at Whatcom, or go into employment. The two degrees actually share most of the applied credits. The difference is in the math requirements and a few other things, science and other things. Then finally, there's a pathway into the Bachelor of Applied Science from other community colleges. So any student with an IT-related degree from a community college in Washington State can go into our bachelor's degree. I would add that most likely our students also could go into the bachelor's degrees at the other community colleges. So this is another model that we have. I don't know if did you want to add anything to that, Janice?
The only other comment would be that we often get students who have already earned bachelor's or even higher level degrees coming to our program to earn the cybersecurity concentration. So that's a common path as well.
Yeah. So I had a guy in there that had a PhD. I've had master's students. So, okay. So the impact to community and state. So we just talked about the pathways. Also support federal programs that establish and update cybersecurity education standards. I think it's important to let everybody know that aside from running this mentoring program for the colleges, Whatcom actually is involved in the running the tool that supports the application, and we work closely with the NSA on the requirements for the application. Also, solutions to evolving industry skill requirements and needs in cybersecurity education. An example of that is we're having a focus group next a couple weeks from now to look at the needs of agriculture as it pertains to cyber. So there's a lot of sensors and other things involved in agriculture. And so we're having a focus group to see if there's any changes we need to make in curriculum to address their specific needs. We also have a CAE impact research study that we commissioned, and they examined the impact of the Center of Academic Excellence to an institution. And for Whatcom, they estimate that between 2012 and 2019, the designation contributed toward an accumulated $16.3 million in earnings and 948 new jobs in Whatcom County. We do have that study available if anybody would like to see it. Janice, you want to add anything?
No, I think in the interest of time, we'll keep going.
Alrighty. So then the other activities that we are involved in include an AP CSP cybersecurity course that was endorsed by the College Board. This is an easy way to get cyber introduced into the high schools. So the AP Computer Science Principles is accepted for credit at many colleges. What we did was we basically had high school teachers create cybersecurity lessons to infuse into the AP CSP. Still meets the AP CSP standards, and students still take the AP CSP exam, but it has a cybersecurity flavor to it. That is endorsed by the College Board now, and we do have high schools that are offering it. We also provided instructor training for that and other CTE instructor training. And then resources to update, improve, and introduce cybersecurity across the curriculum. This includes a program development workshop that we offer for colleges that are want to start a cybersecurity program. So it runs through everything on how to create the curriculum to align with national standards and so on. Credit equivalencies for military occupation specialties. This is something that we created several years ago. We're now updating it, but it's a way to award credit based on the military occupation versus how it's typically been done is to look at ACE credits or to look at the training the person had. This way is anybody that comes out with a particular military occupation gets these credits. That one is actually very popular on our website, so it is being utilized by other colleges. And then outreach to underserved and underrepresented populations. So our focus has been on women and veterans and Native Americans. So we've been doing some work with Native Americans that include cyber camps. And I think Janice can speak to this more, but working with the Mescalero tribe in New Mexico. This is one of our co-PIs on developing, it's a program to serve the casinos and some other things. And then support industry connections and events. So we've hosted several events locally and nationally to bring industry and community colleges together. And then leadership development and mentoring for faculty. So these faculty academies and boot camps, as I said earlier, there's a tremendous need for new programs and students. However, one of our biggest issues is lack of faculty. And so in order to address that, Insight has created these faculty academies to train existing faculties on cybersecurity so they can start teaching it. And then these boot camps are to introduce students that are at in a bachelor's program or above to teaching at a community college as a way to possibly divert some of them into being an adjunct or even going full time. And I think anything else on that, Janice?
I think maybe we should just pivot over to the questions. I guess the one last thing I would say is we just, we can't underemphasize the importance of engaging industry. We have a national visiting committee that's sort of like an oversight group that reports to the NSF on our activities. That includes membership from PNNL, Lockheed Martin, and other industries. And then we also, we have an industry advisory committee that also gives us input on curriculum and connections, how to connect to students. We offer a virtual career fair each year to connect industry to graduates from the CAE and other college programs to help really, facilitate that connection so that we're helping students in industry get together and fill those vacant jobs. Looks like we have some questions in chat, and so maybe that's the best way to.
James, what do you need in terms of time or responses to these questions?
Well, we got about 5 minutes. We're running a little over, so hopefully I see there's a question in the chat box that I think's been answered from Catherine, but we'll find out in a minute. And Maud has her hand up, so let's take 2 or 3 questions, see if we can answer those in the next 5 or so minutes, and then move on to the next topic if possible. But Maud, you're on the floor.
Hey, thank you all. That was super impressive and wonderful work that you're doing at Whatcom. So thank you so much for the presentation. I'm Maud Dodon, and I lead Career Connect Washington for the state. And I know you all have been amazing participants with Whatcom Community College and Career Connect, and thank you for that as well. I'm wondering how directly connected, you talked a little bit at the end there, Janice, about your connection with industry. Could you elaborate on that? Are there paid work experiences that are integrated into the curriculum for students? And would you, if not, would you consider expansion in that arena to make them, that path that we are creating in Career Connect of integrated work learning experiences that are paid?
At Whatcom, we certainly have an internship program, and we have a capstone project in the final quarter of our Bachelor Applied Science program where students can engage in industry projects. Kareen's going to know the details of this more than I do since she created these programs. But, we can't exactly influence other colleges other than to mentor them in these regards. I think I'm not sure what a statewide program would look like. I don't know if we have that for any of our other STEM curriculum areas.
Well, I think one place we could help is to bring the community colleges and the local employers together.
Right.
So, we really had this program going until the pandemic kind of squashed everything, but it was called Industry Event, where basically we brought the local employers and the community colleges in one area together where they could meet each other and establish relationships, which is the first thing you need in order to get internships established, especially if you're in an area where they're not doing that. So if the local employers, I know that one of the common things I would hear from employers is they don't know how to actually talk to somebody at the college. Like, who do they call and what do they do? And so that's why we created the industry event, was so that they could actually meet each other. Then they had connections, and then they would take it from there. And I learned that from when I started as faculty, and I had to get all this stuff going. I actually went out and met people in order to make it happen. So that's one place we can support that.
Yeah. And Maud, I'd like to add that we're very interested in identifying businesses and industries that want to take our students for internships and co-op experiences, because that's the best way for them to really get into the work. And so part of our reason for appearing before you and sharing the work that we do nationally is to get to people in business and industry and to get them excited about what we're doing and to get into a partnership with them.
That's awesome. I'd love to follow up with you all and send you a little information. We have a request for information out right now to find an intermediary, statewide intermediary in cyber. And so we'll send that your way in case you're interested in performing that role, and certainly would love to be a resource. We're hearing from employers that they absolutely are screaming for talent, as you pointed out. So happy to work with you too to connect to employers. So thank you so much. Really appreciate your presentation and answers.
Excellent. I think Kevin is up next. It would take Kevin, if you still have a question, as he took your hand down. That was great.
I'd just like to congratulate them on their work, and I think it's really great to do this work, and we're trying to do the same thing with in computer science and software engineering in general, and do that for a lot of our partner colleges, and it's a lot of hard work working with industry folks, especially to help our students who are from smaller, less well-known but really affordable and accessible colleges get their foot in the door in tech.
Yeah. Thank you. And James, could I ask Jan, could she just get a minute to just talk about what we're trying to do in our system to increase cybersecurity education efforts?
Absolutely. The floor is yours, Jan.
Oh, thank you, James and Kathy. So, obviously the National Center for Cybersecurity Education at Whatcom is a huge national resource, and also a very precious resource for us here in Washington State in terms of closing the skills gaps in the economy and providing ways for people, young people, and people of color and low-income folks to get into a terrific career path. So we want to take advantage of what the resource is that we have here in Washington State. And I think that's one of the reasons why we're doing this presentation here today. And in the community and technical college sector, we have a proposal to significantly increase our capacity in cybersecurity education across the state. 15 of our colleges are currently engaged in cybersecurity education with associate degree and applied baccalaureate degree programs. We currently have 2,700 students in programs across those states, and it's not enough, as you could see from the slide of Corinne's presentation. So we want to build our capacity not only by increasing enrollments, but by utilizing the expertise of Whatcom Center to train additional faculty about how to teach cybersecurity, because that is a limitation right now, but it is ultimately the way that we're going to grow our capacity to significantly increase the number of skilled workers in cybersecurity areas out into the economy, is by having more faculty, because those faculty are going to each teach hundreds of additional students each year. And that's what we need to do in order to meet the needs of our economy. So we're very excited about that prospect, and very, we want to take full advantage of this precious resource that we have here in Washington State. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, the Whatcom team. Thank you, Daniel Sherrar, for the summary message for the broader sense. This is important for our nation. This is important for our workforce. It's important for our young people. Kathy, Corrine, Janice, I want to thank each of you for your time and your dedication and commitment to this work. We're going to be following this and tracking this quite heavily. And you can imagine we'll be checking in with Jan to learn about these developments and see if we can have you back soon. So thank you very much for your contribution. And everyone, if you have other comments or questions, we'll take them in the chat and we'll forward them on. Corrine, are you the point person? Should I make sure if there's other questions that come up later, should we send them your way, or should we funnel them?
You could send them my way.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, folks.